The President is saying that they took far too long to act, that they were essentially immobilized by factionalism, and that led to a massive dropping of the ball on the part of the party. He says things are going to change. He says things are changing already, that there's a big line in the sand. Do you, listening to his testimony, do you believe him? And do you experience that change, even in small parts, through your work in Parliament today?
Sally, I have yet to experience it. I sit in Parliament, as you know. I used to be the Shadow Minister of Public Enterprises. The first change that I saw was Lynn Brown not being returned to Parliament. But I mean, that had to happen. I mean, it couldn't have happened any other way. But then President Ramaphosa went and put so many people who have been implicated in state capture in key positions in Parliament, including chairpersons of portfolio committees. So unfortunately, until I see people in orange overalls in Pretoria Central Prison, I will find it very hard to believe that a line in the sand has been drawn. And the fact of the matter is, we as South Africans have to carry on fighting. We have to carry on fighting to make sure that those who are corrupt are held to account, because the factions in the ANC are so large and the ANC is so fragmented that it doesn't really matter what the president says and what the president says about lines in the sand. The fact of the matter is that the lines in the sand are actually the fragments of the ANC. So we're dealing with a party that is in fragments and people who are, you know, it's the last kick of a dying horse, and that's always the most dangerous kick. And that's what we're dealing with now. So when we see some high-profile figures going to jail, the likes of those who are chair people of committee and some of our ministers, then I will believe that the ANC have made a radical shift in turning around corruption. Until then, I'm afraid I cannot take anyone's word for it.
You know, hearing the ANC president and the president of the country admitting that things went horribly wrong, that there was a massive system failure, is an important acknowledgement. One would think that for opposition parties, it's catnip, basically, a complete exposure, that they absolutely failed to stop the rot. And yet, we see the ANC continuing to win or to hold on to wards in the recent by-elections. And in fact, they even grabbed a ward from the DA in Knysna. What do you make of that? Do you see that as a failure of parties such as yours to move into the positions they should? Or do you think that the ANC has got such a grip on South Africa and that we just keep giving chances to this party that they will continue to continue?
Sally, you make a very good point, and I think it's something that South Africans need to understand. We're a very young democracy. We celebrated our birthday just the other day, and democracies that are young are still developing. I think that the DA certainly has had its own fair share of problems, so I cannot say that we are the perfect example by any stretch of the imagination. But where we do govern better, and we acknowledge our mistakes, and we certainly do rid ourselves of those who we find to be not adhering to the governance that we expect. But I think that what we need to acknowledge is the fact that we come from the most horrendous past in our country. And the ANC is the party of liberation, and a lot of people still owe their freedom or think that they owe their freedom to the ANC. So I think that the voting public often votes on emotion. And I think what we need to do as South Africans is we need to understand that the party of liberation has now turned into the party of oppression. Thousands of people remain completely impoverished. Millions of South Africans have lost their jobs. Millions of South Africans depend on a measly 350 Rand income grant every month. And these are the things that South Africans need to understand, that freedom starts when we're allowed to live. It doesn't start and stop with just getting the vote. And Nelson Mandela himself said very famously on the steps of the City Hall in Cape Town when he was released, if the ANC government does to you what the National Party government did, do to the ANC government what we have done to the National Party government. And I think we need to start taking the advice of our founding father very seriously. But I do think that all political parties need to back up We need to get our acts in together, and we need to stop all infighting, and that includes my own party in the Democratic Alliance. And we need to make sure that at all times we put South Africa first and never our political parties. And I think that then we will see a radical shift in the way South Africans start to retrust politicians, and certainly start to take a re-interest in politics, because at the moment I think South Africans are very politically apathetic, because all the infighting is really not doing any of us any good.
Thank you so much. Great to chat to you. That was the DA's Chief Whip Natasha Mazzone there.